This is BaseDaKID, the Hardcore Casual, in association with the Undefeated podcast, proudly sponsored by Disturbing Sports London. I'm here with Matchroom Boxing CEO Frank Smith. Frank, it's been a bit of a long week for you, but generally speaking, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm glad we got it done. You know, the focus always was for us to come out with a positive outcome, and we got here. And you know, it's going to be a great night Saturday. And I'll keep saying that we've been through so much shit over the years that now when things happen, you go, all right, let's go and figure something else out. So it becomes a lot easier over time.
Now, look, I'm going to get the conspiracy theories out of the way. Let's start with that. Look, Matchroom, DAZN, pay-per-view, have two events, both at the O2, both had adverse findings in tests via VADA. Do you think there's some sort of shenanigans going on or some kind of agenda against Matchroom and DAZN? Let's just put it out there.
No. Look, I think, you know, this is high-level sport. I think, you know, testing's done by... And people look at VADA. VADA are obviously an agency that then it's tested by a lab that most of the bodies would use. So there's a couple of labs around the world that most doping tests go to. I don't believe so. Look, you know, we all want a clean sport, and that's our focus. We want to understand the way things are dealt with. We obviously all want improvements on the way things are dealt with, and everyone should want that as well. You know, because it's only going to improve the sport longer term. But no, I don't see it being a conspiracy. I am into conspiracy theories, but not this one.
Fair enough. Going back yesterday with Eddie being on TalkSport with Simon Jordan. Obviously, there was some information that came out whereby Simon Jordan had said that he had found out information from a Friday. Supposedly, that's when you'd found out. Then it came out that no, it was actually Saturday. And there was obviously that misinformation put out into the public. Do you feel like there is a lot of misinformation put out about Matchroom shows or Eddie or yourself on those bigger platforms that isn't fact-checked and then isn't, you know, subsequently retracted and apologised for?
Yeah, look, that's the problem with the world we live in now. Access to information is so easy and quick, and people like Simon Jordan have a voice that, you know, people and the fans listen to, rightly or wrongly. He talks like he is literally the saviour of boxing and has every bit of knowledge about the sport. And the reality is, he doesn't. That's just the truth. He's very good at what he does. He will always be very good at what he does, but he talks some rubbish. And the problem is, people will hear things like that, Matchroom now on Friday, and he's trying to paint it in a picture that makes us look like we held on to the information to Saturday. And I got phone calls, I got the email, like it was Saturday morning, about 1 a.m. for me, 1:30, something like that. And as soon as we found out, as soon as we could all get on a call together at the right time zones, we dealt with the matter, and within 2 hours it was out there. But this is the problem with like misinformation. People take his word as, they're lying. They haven't got a clue. And this happens a lot. It's not just Simon Jordan, it's other people. Other people hear things, they say it's like it's factual. And that's obviously detrimental. That's not just in boxing, that's across a whole range of things these days. And that's what social media is bad for. It has a lot of benefits, but that's what it's bad for.
And obviously, with regards to that, we have to sort of touch on the Dillon White situation. Now, look, he's got a big process that he's going to have to go through now. It's unfortunate that no one, I don't think, is probably going to give him the time and to, you know, that he needs to actually prove his case. He's going to be guilty by a public opinion at this point. What do you think is, and I can understand if this isn't something that necessarily you particularly care about in this instance, but what do you think sort of his going through at the moment, and do you think he can possibly clear this up if he is innocent?
Look, I think everyone in these situations deserves the ability to go through the process. You know, and it's not just in boxing. Boxing's a dangerous sport, and we all want the sport to be as clean as possible. People deserve to go through the process in anything in life. And I think people should give him the ability to do that. It's not my place to talk about what he's going to, he's going to have a hard battle. But he's been here before. It's been very public around what happened around the Rivas fight. And, he was cleared. And I think you have to let him do that and then make your judgments after that. You know, that's what I'd say. But again, that's in so many walks of life now, not just with this situation. People make their judgments based on a few details. And we made the right call to cancel the fight very quickly, but now separately he's going to go through that process and deal with it his end.
So we've settled on Robert Helenius as obviously last minute opponent for Anthony Joshua. Now, it probably would have been, I guess, a bit more advantageous if it had happened a week earlier where Joshua's still in a training camp, so to speak. There's not really going to be much training now. How did Robert become the necessary choice? And is he technically a better style matchup for the supposed, Deontay Wilder fight that will be taking place January next year?
Look, there must have been 40 or 50 options that we looked at, from blown up light heavyweights who'd come on board saying they'd be up for it, all the way through to, it's very easy for people to say, you should have gone this route, you should have gone that route, you should have done this. But at the end of the day, they don't really know the facts around, Andy Ruiz, for example. Yeah, it would have been a massive fight, but they're never going to get a deal done and agreed in that time frame. Also, you've got a load of people who come on who try and use it as their way to absolutely take the piss, basically, and take liberties and ask for a value that is nowhere near their value. That would have been 200k last week and now $3 million. And I think we made the right call in Robert Helenius. I think he's going to go, I think one thing we saw in the Deontay Wilder fight, he came to fight. He didn't go in there and shy away like most people would against Deontay Wilder. And he got caught with a big shot. But I think that's what you're going to come and see, that's what you're going to see on Saturday night. You're going to see a fighter come in for a fight. This is his opportunity to change his life in one night. A win on Saturday night could change Robert Helenius' life forever. And he's, the heavyweight division, what we love about the heavyweight division is that there's vulnerability and they take big shots. But I believe, my personal view, AJ, I believe you're going to see a big finish from him. He doesn't get the respect he deserves, Anthony, in terms of like the Franklin fight. He went in there and he won nearly every round against Jermaine Franklin. But rather than people saying, actually, he looks he's improved this, he's done better here, people go, oh, well, he didn't knock him out. But I think we're in for a great fight. We're in for a great undercard as well, top to bottom, and excited.
Speaking of the undercard, which fight is actually going to be the chief support or the co-main? Is it going to be Dempsey, McKean and Ergovic, or is it going to be Chisora and Washington, because Chisora obviously has a very big following on his name as well?
I think it will be Chisora. He's got a huge following. Look, the McKean-Ergovic is an amazing fight. But I think, in terms of the fans in the arena and viewing, obviously a huge British audience. Chisora has been a long-time fan favourite, so I think he'll be the chief support.
Speaking of, obviously, they're on the card again. So, in terms of Philip Ergovic and Dempsey McKean, a brilliant fight almost that sort of came out of nowhere. I know Dempsey has been screaming for an opportunity for a while. Awkward southpaw, big, tall, rangy, not really someone that people want to actually get in the ring with and risk their position. So almost, what does that say about, Philip, that he's prepared to take on the unknown quantity to keep his mandatory status? Because it wasn't a shot that he had to have. He chose this one.
No, look, he always wanted big fights, and he could have sat around and waited. For the Usyk, IBF, obviously Usyk's fighting Dubois for the WBA mandatory, but he could have sat around and waited to go next. But he wanted a real fight, and he always wants real fights. So, this is Dempsey McKean's huge opportunity as well, because in one night he can take away, not one night, he's worked very hard, but he can take away that position from Philip Ergovic. And, I think we're in for a great heavyweight fight there.
And Johnny Fisher about to go for his very first title for the Southern area. How do you rate his chances against Harry Armstrong?
It's a tough fight. It's a real tough fight. But I think Johnny. I think this is the kind of fight Johnny needed to step on. People were disappointed probably with the opponent in the last fight, but I think this is the right type of fight he needs to move forward and keep building through the ranks. And looking forward to that first title fight. The Bosch Army going to be out in force, and maybe he can make a big defence and of it next, and we'll sell another 6,000-7,000 tickets at Ali Pali with him.
Cool. Okay, so moving it real brief. Obviously, yesterday we had a scheduled purse bid for Richard RIAKPORHE and Jael Patel. Richard put out a statement basically withdrawing himself from that, saying he'd had two previous offers that were there and then withdrawn. The whole thing doesn't necessarily make sense to me, because if you felt like you had been played or messed about, well, this is your opportunity right here. There's no more chance for messing you about. So where do you think that came from ultimately? And is he ducking the smoke from Jael Patel, or is there more going on at play, do you think?
Look, firstly, our focus now is Jael Patel. He's been messed around twice. He had the master neck stuff, then had moved on to RIAKPORHE. It's been 3 months or something like that he's gone through this process. Our focus, we believe he's the best cruiserweight in the division. Our focus is to get him a fight as soon as possible. I feel sorry for Richard RIAKPORHE. I know Richard RIAKPORHE very well. I like him a lot, and I get on very well with him, even beyond when he left Matchroom. Had many conversations with him. I feel sorry for him because he's obviously been given terrible advice. You know, it's nothing to do with the fact of, oh, we had these offers and they didn't come through. No, you just didn't want to lose a purse bid to Matchroom. Same as the Fraser Clark situation. And also, I had communication from Boxer, and then I had a few discussions. I think it was 3 or 4 or 5 days later. This was a few weeks ago. I said, can we have a call? I never heard back. But if you really want an offer, right, if you go, wouldn't you chase up? So we made offers, and you know, it's not like the fight wasn't there. And like you say, just goes to purse bids. But it's nothing to do with, in my opinion, right, nothing to do with Richard RIAKPORHE being scared, not wanting to fight. Nothing to do with that. He's worked hard to get into that position. All it's to do with is a promotional entity who come into the sport saying we're for the saviour of the fighters, we're all about the business, we're all about the fighters, blah, blah, blah. You're not. You're about your own personal gain. And that's fine. But be upfront with it. Don't talk shit. You know, all you care about is your business, Boxer, and your platform. No problem. But come out with that. Don't come out and say, oh no, this, that, the other. It's all a load of rubbish. And they're out of the depth.
Okay, last one from me. A bit away from both of these events and obviously that situation there. Last week it was announced Jack Carroll will be facing Jorge Linares in October, I believe. Is it in Sheffield?
Yeah,
Liverpool. Liverpool, sorry. Okay, I just want to find out, how did that fight particularly come about? Because Jorge Linares, as far as I can remember, he has lost his last 3 fights, I believe, via knockout. Shouldn't Jack Carroll be facing a better standard of opponent at this point, especially someone that's at least a 140-pound naturally? What was the situation and the thought behind that fight being made?
Look, I think Jack Catterall's been out of the ring for a long time. He had the win against Darragh Foley, you know, after 23 months out of the ring, something like that. Then the focus for us was to get him out as soon as possible. You know, Jorge Linares, we all know what he's done in the sport. He's a legend of the sport. He looks in unbelievable shape. He's been training hard. I can understand some of the criticism with the losses, but you know, I think it's another step up from Darragh Foley. And you know, we all wanted to deliver Jack the world title shot with the likes of Regis Prograis or the potential Josh Taylor fight, and they're fights that can be made. You know, it's definitely on our radar to make that Josh Taylor fight next. But I think Linares is a step forward in terms of opponent. He's been out of the ring, and I think he needs to get in there and get a big win. And you know, but like I say, people will always have their opinions, and we have to respect their opinions, you know. But I think it's a decent fight. It's a decent name as well. He's got a huge following, Jorge Linares. Obviously, he built a massive following in Manchester as well around the fights with Crawler he had. So, you know, I think the show will do very well. But yeah, the focus is get through this one October 21st, and then a big fight early part next year for Jack.
Well, Frank, look, we look forward to the big event on the weekend. Hopefully everything else goes off without a hitch, no other problems moving forward. And yeah, bigger and better things in the future. But thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks, Bill.